Now, with Brian Wilson live in Charlotte, this is Common Sense coverage of the Democratic National Convention with Brian and Brian, sponsored by the Media Research Center. 105.9 FM and AM 630. WMAL.
Good morning. Listen to WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. It's Brian Wilson coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Brian Neiman back in the studios there in D.C. How are you this morning, Mr. Neiman?
I'm alive. I'm awake, ready to go.
Well, we are in the Time Warner Cable Arena, where the actual event took place last night. And this is Radio Row, and throughout the day, we have people who walk by who want to talk to us. And among those yesterday was Jimmy Hoffa Jr., who is in charge of the Teamsters Union. You know, it's been a tough relationship between the Democratic Party and the Teamsters and labor unions right now, and we talked to him about that. You know, I have to ask you the obvious question. You know it's coming. You've probably been asking everywhere you go, but the Democrats are holding this convention in North Carolina, a right-to-work state, and I know the unions are not very happy about that.
Well, it's true. We didn't think this is the facility. You know, coming to a right-to-work state, we thought sent the wrong message. When you could have been in St. Louis, you could have been in Detroit, Michigan, you could have been in Chicago. Great venues, more hotels, bigger facilities, and so we were initially against coming here. But you know, once a decision is made and once we're here, we're moving on. I mean, we're moving on to make this a successful convention. I'm sure it's going to be basically a wonderful convention, and it's really going to tell the truth about what we're going to do to make this country great again.
Not to belabor the point, but some people have said that this was a real slap and an affront to the labor unions. How do you respond to that?
Well, we didn't take it that way. We were disappointed, but basically we were saying there are better facilities, and we didn't do it, and we're here. But everybody I've talked to, many labor leaders here, we realize we got to move on. I mean, we've got bigger things than to worry about venues. We're here to make sure we win this election. Are
the labor unions energized? Are they going to be engaged, or are people going to, as some people have suggested, sit on their hands this election?
I think people are energized, and they're energized by, number one, the success of Barack Obama. He's had a good 4 years. The best bumper sticker I heard was Bin Laden dead, General Motors alive. And that was something that Biden said. I thought that was great. It really tells the whole story about where we have to go from here. And what we have to hope for is that after this election and after Obama wins, that the Republicans get on board to help rebuild America.
Do you think that's possible? I mean, the way it looks right now, it'd be very hard for Democrats to take the House. I mean, isn't it possible we're going to have to continue divided government going forward?
I'm afraid you're right. I don't think the Democrats are going to take the House back. We're going to do everything we can, but it's a big leap. I think we're down 25. I think it's going to be narrow. We're going to win a lot of seats, but not take it back. We're going to keep the Senate, I believe. I think Obama's going to get elected. But you're right, the danger of gridlock, and I guess there has to be one of these meetings again to say, okay, now the election's over with. We've got 4 more years. Do we really want this country to be gridlocked so nothing gets done in Washington? Is that what you want for the next 4 years? It has to be compromised by both sides, Republicans and Democrats, to get this country moving again. That is what's got to be done, and I hope that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen until Obama wins.
All right, so the question I think it's very fair to ask of the administration in power is, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? That's been a controversial question in the last couple of days. How would you answer it?
Oh, we're much better off. I mean, if anybody remembers 2008, how bad it was, remember the Lehman moment? Remember TARP? Remember the catastrophe we had with banks going under and thousands of people losing their job? 8 million people lost their job because of the Bush crash. And that we've not recovered from that. Are we where we want to be? No. There's more work to be done. But we've got to make sure that we keep our eye on the prize and keep going up, 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 and more people working.
The other side of that, of course, is $16 trillion in debt. How do we solve that problem?
Well, it's a problem that has to be addressed. It's about income and outgo. You know, basically this is what the president proposed. You know, give me $1 billion in revenue and I'll cut $10 billion in entitlements. Basically, that's the proposal. They turned that down. The Republicans turned that down. Sounding like a pretty good deal to me. But they are so rigid with regard to no new money coming in, no new revenue. It's unrealistic because you cannot cut one end and not have more revenue.
Michigan. Look at the polls. It still could go either way.
Well, we can't take anything for granted, but we're very confident in Michigan that we're going to win. We're below the national average in employment. People are back to work. There's a good feeling in Michigan that we're leading the nation, and that's good. But can we be overconfident? No. I think the polls are a little deceiving. I think that we're going to win Michigan, and I think that it looks really good in Michigan right now.
That's James Hoffa Jr., who, by the way, in addition to being the president of the Teamsters Union, is also a delegate from Michigan. That's why I asked him about the Michigan numbers. By the way, I just looked them up. The numbers in Michigan, Brian, now have, on average, if you look at the Real Clear Politics average in the state of Michigan, Obama up by 2.4. There are polls that show that Romney is doing very well in the state of Michigan. So interesting to watch there. Look, James Hoffa is putting the best face on a lot of things. He's going to come in here and he's going to spout the company line. But make no doubt about it, the unions are not very happy and are quite angry about the fact that this convention is taking place in a right-to-work state. They represent people, for example, in the services industry who work in hotels. There isn't a union hotel in this town.
Wow.
So they're not very happy about that. But they are choosing to ignore that. But the thing I come back to is this the way that people who are loyal to the Democratic Party are repaid for that loyalty?
Yeah, well, more on that coming up, because is D.C. getting dissed? We'll get into that coming up.